I've never found a love like this. There it is. I've never found a love like this.
Hello everybody, welcome back to E20 Zone TV, the best place for the best intro on the fucking planet. To my right is Lucas, all the way from the US of A. Down below me is Clive, and over to there is the man who just destroys people in debates. That is WestHamOnline, mate. I've never felt so proud of this geezer tonight, 100%. Lucas, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, I had a good St. Patrick's Day. Drank a lot of Guinness.
Yeah.
I'm fat and happy right now. So,
Clive, how you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad. I've just been watching a shit ton of sport, to be honest, over the weekend. But yeah, I already want to see West Ham gear up in April now.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And WestHamOnline, how are you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I've had a very good day, actually.
Yeah, listen, I hear you, man. Right, after our show, so anything goes tonight. Yeah, and there's a topic of conversation that I want to bring up tonight because I'm going to go through it. I was absolutely fuming last night. Fuming. Had a few beers. I'm looking on Twitter, and all I see is fucking hate this club and certain people at this club. And basically, the question is really about social media tonight. Is there a divide in people's opinions? Is there a sort of hate campaign for what's going on at the minute? Right, no one's really looking at other issues. They're looking at one man, and for how much I dislike David Moyes, and I do dislike David Moyes. I don't want David Moyes here. I'm not sitting there fucking literally tweeting every 5 minutes about he's the worst thing going, and that's just my honest opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is the question of the evening. And it's this: toxic positivity or toxic negativity? I'm going to start off with WestHamOnline because me and you have had some rows over the years. Well, what is going on, bruv?
There's a fine line between toxic positivity and toxic negativity, and I think this fan base struggles to find the middle ground.
in the middle of that is realism.
Yeah, a realistic, in my opinion anyway, a realistic way of looking at the situation is Moyes hasn't done good enough this season. We've spent a lot of our players that we brought in have been poor. The system hasn't been good enough. Our league position is unacceptable, but we've been good in Europe. That's a realistic way to look at it. However, what people have been saying, which is just toxic negativity and is just ridiculous, is, oh, Moyes has undone all his good work here. The past 2 years were a fluke. The wins in Europe mean nothing because it's a farmers' league. We're going down no matter what. If Moyes doesn't go, we're going to go down. So, and then there's obviously the toxic positivity, which is just blindly defending everything that happens at the club. I'd say the toxic negativity is what's filling most of social media at the moment. And yeah, it's just ridiculous at times.
For me, right, and this is where I'm going to sort of say my bit, is I don't understand the outcry yesterday. I really don't. Right, I looked at it yesterday and I thought Forest lost, Bournemouth lost, Southampton got a point, but they lost during the week. But no one mentions about Southampton losing the week to Brentford at home in the game that they could have won that. Right, they all go off on a tandem. They say about Leeds, but Leeds have won a game, which has pulled Wolves closer to us. I don't get why everyone's so mad. Right, if West Ham go and win the next few games, it ain't a problem. Do you know what I mean? And I think people are shooting their bolt before it's even landed, if I'm being honest. Clive, what are you saying about it, mate?
Yeah, you also missed another point there, which is we've got a game in hand. We didn't play. So I keep saying this, like, we keep worrying about everyone else's results, but to an extent, obviously, you want teams to be dropping points when they're facing the big six. But, you know, ultimately, I mean, look at us last season. Last season, we beat Liverpool, we beat Chelsea, we beat, some of the tougher teams, and then we still lost to the sort of teams we should be beating, and that was last season. So, you know, ultimately, what goes around comes around, and we will pick up points perhaps where we don't necessarily expect to pick up points, versus maybe we will lose points where we expect to get 3 points, for instance. It's just making the most of what we've got in the next, 10, 12 games that exist. Ideal situation is obviously win at least 2 of the next 3 and have that little bit of breathing space, so then we can concentrate on the quarterfinals of Europa Conference. I think anyone's realization of the Europa Conference doesn't exist, doesn't matter, is a bit stupid. We're not in any other cups right now. We're out of the FA Cup. There's nothing really else to fight for except from obviously league position. But, if I had to choose the toss up between the two, league, stay in the Premier League, or win the Europa Conference, obviously I'm going to stay in the Premier League. But we need to be realistic and sort out that league form now. The games in Europe are not until the 9th or whatever it is of April. We do have 2 league games, I think, before that, if I'm not mistaken.
3. We've got 3 games in a week: Southampton, Newcastle, Fulham, and that is what I said on my tweet last night. And people are getting so carried away thinking that we're already fucking down, when West Ham have been in this situation so many times before and got out of it. I think it's a joke, mate. Right? I hear what you're saying. I'm going to go over to Lucas because I want to get right into this tonight. Because I've just about had a fucking gut for people keep just throwing out negativity vibes. Now, listen, I'll say this. Me and Alfie have had many rows on this channel. Me and Alfie have had many rows in the WhatsApp group. And trust me, if people was to see the rows that we've had in the WhatsApp group, that would be fucking X-rated. Bad, right? It'd be fucking bad, yeah? But on some things, I do look at Alfie and go, yeah, you got a point, right? If we go and get rid of Moyes tomorrow, who are we bringing in? We've got no plan, right? We're just bringing in someone right now who we just don't know who it's going to be. We don't know if the players are going to adapt or whatever. I think the players have got to take some accountability also in this. I think the players are getting off lightly, massively, right? And some of them are fucking been terrible this season. But it's like, let's all pin it on David fucking Moyes. And I'm thinking, yeah, you can pin it on David Moyes, but have a bit of context and balance to the whole situation. You can't go and blame the players without blaming Moyes, and you can't go and blame Moyes without the players. They go hand in hand. Do you know what I'm saying? Lucas, what are you saying?
I don't want to say if there's been one more than the other, but I would say, me personally, I see more toxic negativity than positivity, but they both do exist, and I've seen it plenty of times. And like I said before, right in the middle is being realistic. Like, to me, being realistic is being able to put blame on players, managers, coaches, the owners, whoever. And it's honestly gone ridiculous to the point where I understand where people, they don't prefer David Moyes, but like seeing people like actually like they really do hate the guy is so funny to me, because like it's all like very hypocritical to me. Like, he's brought us some of our best years being West Ham fans, and just the hate is a bit much in my opinion. I can definitely understand, like, this season obviously not been good enough, nowhere near good enough, but like I just feel like a lot of people don't put enough blame where it should be. Like, I don't have any problem criticizing Moyes at all, but sometimes I feel like the players don't get enough criticism, because at the end of the day, Moyes can only do so much. He can't force these players to tap in goals, make the right pass and such. He can only put them in the correct position to succeed. And mind you, he fails at that sometimes. I get that, but like, I don't know, people are just so extreme in my opinion. There's not enough balance in the world, which I feel like
there's not enough accountability, Lucas. Right?
I think there's also a fear, isn't there? There's a fear in fans that, and what I mean by this is, say, for instance, and I can understand this to an extent, I would say if, for instance, that we just about stay up in the league, but we also win the Europa Conference, do you think the owners would then sack Moyes? I don't think they would. I think that is a partial fear of some of the fans.
One of my
Right,
concerns, though, is that people wouldn't find that a successful year, which, in my opinion, I think is I won't say ridiculous, but I mean, what more do we have to do to have a successful season besides win a trophy?
I'm
I
not
mean, a
being funny enough.
successful
I think
season
our
at this point
Yeah.
would be
standards.
mid-table. It would
I
be
think our
mid-table, but not.
I think our
Fight or miss.
standards have like. I know, like, once you achieve certain things, you wanna keep going, you wanna get better. But I feel like from what we've achieved, 7th and 6th, as much as I would love to push on and be that club that we dream of, like, I feel like our expectations standards have like unhealthily skyrocketed. That's just me.
That's always going to happen though with two
But that's
seasons
where
on
I
the
think
bounce
like
in the Europa.
that's where I think the toxic negativity and positivity comes from sometimes, and it's just like I just feel like people need to grasp the realism a bit more.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be a realism, but like this is our 10th season in the Premier League now, 10 straight, I think.
11.
Roughly 11.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, we shouldn't be fighting with that relegation zone. I mean, I hate using the term bigger club, but I would like to think that we would be seen as a bigger club in that entity of the 20 clubs that exist in the Premier League. Like when you compare the likes of Brighton, Brentford, etc. When you look at their establishment, I'm talking more than just the team that's on the pitch. I'm talking the establishment, the purpose, the company, the business as a whole. You know, we'd be seen as a bigger club in that sense.
But do you know what it is though, Clive? Yeah, what irritates me? Yeah, because I'm listen. I say it openly, I'm Moyes out. I don't want Moyes here. Yeah,
same as me.
And I'm open about that. Yeah, I was one of the first people on this channel to come out of it and say it. Now, what irritates me is if West Ham finish 12th and win the conference, that's a fucking good season, right?
Yeah.
Because we've won a trophy, we finished 12th, right, from a bad situation, right? And it ain't without the realms of possibility, but when I keep hearing and seeing negative bollocks, like, because the results didn't go our fucking way at the weekend, and people are like, oh, Moyes is going to send us down. We haven't even played no fucking games.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can understand it after a game, but I can't understand it when it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I think, do you know what? I think my only fear with the fixtures that have happened without us playing is there is now more pressure on the players on the pitch. I think that is now a big thing. Like you have said, the players have got away a little bit lightly in the last, I think we do give them a little bit of shit, especially, when we're giving our player ratings. But I don't think there has been accountability for the players. But to be honest, this is what you tend to see all the time, don't we? You see this with any club, any manager. A manager goes, some players will go, do you know what? We didn't do our job. We didn't do well enough. And
there's not enough of that.
Players that do that. And 100%. You won't see many players that do admit that. But I think that is the case here. It is, they have let down the manager ultimately. But at the same time, would there be an improvement if this manager goes? Potentially, but we can't be calling for Moyes' head in the middle of March. There is no better options. There is none.
And quickly to add on to that real quick, and there's a way to take accountability as well. I'm sick of seeing players sulking and taking accountability. That doesn't give us any sort of confidence or hope. I want them to just deliberately state that we were not good enough. Not the whole we were good enough. We're going to have to lace our boots back up, pull our socks up. No, I want them to take accountability and act like, yes, we messed up. We were shit today. We're going to improve. I think Luke Ayling had a pretty good presser after the match the other day. He wasn't sulking. He wasn't feeling bad for himself. He knows that Leeds weren't good enough, and he said with his chest that they will improve. And again, of course I would love for us to improve, but it's all about mentality. If you are not confident or present yourself as confident, no one is going to have confidence in you. They're going to look at you like you're a loser, like you're a melt. You got to at least act the part to some extent. You know what I mean? So I'm just that's another thing that needs to change, and I think that goes as well with accountability.
I think that's where podcasts have been interesting. And when I say podcasts have been interesting, I mean those that are retired footballers, not the ones that are currently still playing. And what I mean by that is, if you like, look at the things that are said. I don't know if you guys listen to, say, Ben Foster's podcast, or
I
even
do, yeah.
or even the case of where, you know, Tony Poulis has been on a few different podcasts and whatnot. But you know, you find out quite a bit where players, managers, etc. You know, some of the players don't fight for certain managers because they just have an instant hatred towards them.
Yeah.
And you know, there's certain things, certain aspects that seem to affect in the background, which we obviously don't see. And that's the thing. What we are basing our opinions off of a lot of the time is what we're physically seeing. That's on the pitch. But then at the same time, we're also basing a lot of our opinions on all these rumors that are coming out.
But the problem is,
that's
though,
where it's difficult.
The problem is with that, Clive, before I get West Ham Online in, is doing YouTube, that we all do, like all the lads, you come on here, you follow the games, right?
Yeah.
And one thing with me is I don't forget games. In certain games this year, we've had so many chances to score a goal, and like we could have been there all night and not scored a goal. Right, we had so many moments where players have been absolutely shocking,
and it wasn't down to the tactics.
It wasn't down to no tactics. It's down to poor finishing, and then people will turn and look at the manager and say it's the manager's fault. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute. If that man's on 50 bags a week and he can't put the ball in the back of the net, how the fuck is it the manager's fault? Do you know what I'm saying?
And I feel like a lot of people disregard. And again, I'm in no way trying to defend Moyes at all in this topic, but like I feel like people fail to realize too that like there's got to be some sort of slack when David Sullivan has a reputation of bringing in random players that he thinks is good for the club. David Sullivan thinks he knows more about ball than David Moyes, Pellegrini, Bilic. He doesn't. And when you bring in players on your own accord that don't fit the coach or the manager that's currently at the helm, people, I feel like, need to at least respect that part.
I agree on that. Yeah, I just want to say one thing before I definitely bring West Ham Online in. Yeah,
he's been quiet.
I know he's preparing. Some of the players that he's brought in, I'm going to use one player as an example here. Craig Dawson. Every West Ham fan up and down the land probably looked at Craig Dawson and thought, "Fuck me, what is going on here?" But what is really going on, right? We're going after Tarkowski for 40 or 45 million. They blew it out the water. He went and got Craig Dawson. Yeah, Craig Dawson now is everyone's like favourite son. Like he's left the club and he's done a great service to West Ham, but
now
everyone forgets that. Right, he's doing all right at Wolves, but you know what I'm saying? It's just I just don't like. Listen, I agree with certain people when they say about getting Moyes out the door. Yeah, I agree with them. I know I would be first in line to say, "Yep, I'm with you all the way to the bank." Yeah, but the one thing I can't see and I just can't have is when people are just so negative in a mindset of saying the results go against us. It's fucking all Moyes' fault. And I'm thinking, bruv, we don't play for 2 weeks.
Or no matter what. And again, this is more toxic negativity. But even when we win, everyone is still like either incredibly negative towards players or incredibly negative towards Moyes. Like there's no winning at all.
Yeah.
Like they just,
right now.
Everyone picks their side. They stick to it. It feels like politics at this point, honestly. And I just don't understand why. Just enjoy the victory without like you can have your criticisms, but there's a clear difference between criticism and hatred. And
Alfie,
there's so much of that bullshit going on, in my opinion.
Alfie, what you say, man? What you've heard?
You can't praise up the players and the manager when we do well, and then when we do poorly, pin it all on the manager. That just doesn't make sense. Last year and the year before, people were admittedly saying that Moyes was doing a great job, but they were also praising the players a lot. This year, it's all been on Moyes apparently, and the players don't seem to take as much as the blame as they should. So I don't understand that. That like just logically, that doesn't make sense. There's also been people saying, "Oh, I don't care about how we do in the Conference League because the league is your bread and butter." I hate that saying. The league is your bread and butter. By the way, our objective every year before Moyes came was to qualify for the Europa League. Now that we're doing it, it seems that people are trying to steer that away and say, "Oh, we don't care about that because we've got to focus all on the league." So what are we here for then? Apart from staying up, what are we trying to do? Because we're not going to win the league. Surely
For
aiming
me,
for Europe and trying to win in Europe is what we need to do.
for me, when I look at West Ham, I look at top 10 every year as a minimum. Yeah, I don't think that's being unreasonable.
Which I absolutely agree, and I think that is about as realistic as it gets.
But I will say this: if West Ham was to finish 12th, and I know Joe disagrees with me on this because I see it in the chat, if West Ham finish 12th and win the Conference League and win a cup, right, or a trophy that we haven't won in 43 years,
it's a great season.
No West Ham fan can complain.
No,
and if they do complain, I don't see where it's in.
I'll tell you what my issue with that would be, and I don't mean that I have got an issue with those, the 12th and the conference, right? But hear me out on this part. So I'm trying to look this from a pragmatic point of view here. Yeah. So in the summer, what the fuck do we do? Do we then? So let's say Moyes is kept, but he's kept on a little leash, right? Do we then spend money on Moyes in the summer, or not? Because
Moyes has to go.
But I don't think he does. I don't think he does it in a scenario where we win the Europa Conference, our first European trophy for 43 years, and 12th place in the Premier League, albeit it won't be seen as a successful overall season.
Which will cement our third straight season of European football.
Exactly, and obviously the Europa League, which has a higher revenue per round, especially when you go past the group stages compared to the Europa Conference. It's a bigger stage, bigger audience, bigger accessibility of around the world. It has all of these aspects. Obviously, if we do bad at the start of the season, I do think perhaps the ownership would have a different outlook and go, do you know what? Yeah, he needs to be fucked off. And by November, say if we're in a bad situation, he's gone. But what the fuck do we then do with our summer signings? Bear in mind, we have 4 or 5 players in their final few months of contract. We then have more players that have got contracts up the following summer, and we're probably going to lose Rice this summer. And it's like, do we then utilize that money in the summer from Rice's sale to then buy other players? Do you see, like, there's a lot of other cogs in this wheel, which is problematic in our best case scenario.
And there's so many different scenarios that could happen. Like you said,
of course,
a new owner almost changes a lot in theory. Because, for example, so everyone knows where I stand. I've been Moyes in all year, and I still am. But if we stay up, win the Conference League, I still think it's best to move on, because we need, in my opinion, we need to move on from Rice when it's time. Obviously, because we all know it's coming, in Moyes. And I think the best way to do that is just a hard reset and bring in someone with fresher ideas, or can mold this squad into a better machine. But there's so many different things that can happen. Like, Moyes could stay, and with a new owner, Moyes could get the players that he wants. Like, there's no more Sullivan bidding on players and getting players that he doesn't want. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about.
But the way I look at it is, right? I was just going to say this, right? It ain't just all on Moyes, though, mate. Like, Sullivan should have sacked Moyes a long time ago. Yeah, right. Should have done, right, and he hasn't. The Declan Rice situation this year has been embarrassing. That's another thing. I'm gonna say it quite openly. Like, when he's saying about he wants to move, he wants to go and win trophies, and we haven't won a trophy in 43 years. No one will mention that, because Declan Rice is the golden child of West Ham. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's a catalogue of stuff this year. They're sort of spiraled into one thing. Like, if you ask me in 5 weeks' time and West Ham haven't won a game, then I will be with everyone, being as toxic as possible.
Which rightly so, because
which would be rightfully so, yeah. So when I look at it now, the next 3 games, in that week, we could win all 3 games. We could be sitting in 12th and comfortable. But yeah, again, we could lose all 3 games. So it's a balance here, isn't it? You've got to be right. West Ham can beat these teams. Right? I see something earlier on today about Fulham. I said Mitrovic is gone now, right? So that's one of their target men, like one of their best players out of the game, right?
Yeah,
the managers.
This is what I mean. What goes around comes around. In this situation, we might have been given a great situation here against Fulham, where 2 of their players have been red carded for stupidity today, pure stupidity, and that's going to work in our favour. So, at the end of the day, yeah, all right. Teams like Everton have got points against teams that perhaps shouldn't have, but now we can perhaps kick on and get a good couple of wins here.
And there's too many people, I think, on social media as well that like they want to be right so bad. Like they want
100%.
to be so right, and then when you look back, they're like, "Oh, I was the first to say this, do this, yada yada yada."
I've noticed that.
And then you got the double-edged sword of people
that deserves a clap, mate. That deserves a clap. Carry on, man. Land.
Then they operate as like, "Oh, what I predicted wasn't right, but it's a win-win because it didn't happen. So whatever, it's cool." Like I prefer to just give my opinion without trying to make it seem like I want to be right or I'm trying to prove something to people. But I like to kind of live in the moment and not like short future, but like again, like people just like blagging about these results. It's like we haven't even played yet. We don't know what's gonna happen. And like everyone's just trying to be right in the first of something where it's like, just wait till it happens and then we can react.
And I would say in part, we're not supporting the club as such. Like, by providing all this negativity, we're basically going, oh, we actually don't think we're going to win against Southampton, or we don't think we're going to do this. We don't think we're going to do. We don't fucking know until they obviously turn up on the day. And all we can hope is obviously over this 2-week period that there's some sort of how I see it is we've changed formation the last few games. We've brought it back into this sort of half counter-attacking situation and trying some different things. I'd like to think over this next 2-week period we can cement that, and we can cement what we're doing with our 3 strikers, because I think that's a big thing. We're struggling to score goals, but all 3 of our strikers are completely fucking different.
I agree to a point, right? I do. But then I do look at what Lucas just said about people are trying to be right. It's like Charlie Big Bollocks sort of thing, right? I've got to be the man who says it or how it is. Now, listen, I understand what people are saying about Moyes, yeah? I get it, yeah? But what I don't understand is, like last night, for instance, I'm sitting in a boozer, right? I'm flicking through the wormhole of Twitter, and I'm seeing Moyes is this, Moyes is that, it's Moyes' fault, Moyes. I'm thinking, fucking, what is going on? Like, and what it is, we can't change anything, right? The club can't change anything for 2 weeks. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people are going into one, and I'm thinking, right, if West Ham played today and we would have lost, and someone said something about the Man City game, right? I think the Man City game will be none and void by the time we get to it. Because if West Ham continue in the conference, Manchester City continue in the Champions League, that game will be played on a Thursday before the end of the season. And by that time, if Arsenal could have won the league, Manchester City would be in the FA Cup and possibly the Champions League, right? And West Ham could go there and could be facing a lesser side in Manchester City because they will want to rest their players for the big games. So I'm not really worried about the Manchester City game. If you look at the table now, right, today, and say we've played Man City and lost, it's still not as bad as what people make out. In my own opinion,
we have some better fixtures than some other clubs. And what I'd also say is it's going to be interesting to see how people pop off on the 1st of April, because our game's not until the 2nd. So obviously some of the clubs that are in and around us will be playing the day before. So all of your little Twitter Philly Big Bollocks people that are giving it large, I can't wait to see all of your tweets on the 1st of April before West Ham play again.
Also, first thing, thank you to everyone in the chat who's saying that to me about Clout and Booze. What I was going to say is the problem is the direction of the fan base now is mostly everyone is Moyes out. That's not the problem. I respect anyone who's Moyes out. Yeah, fine. The problem is when you defend Moyes or you try and say, actually, not everything is about the manager. Actually, the players do deserve some blame.
Pitchforks.
Actually, in football, it's not all about the manager. You get hated on. And you do get hated
not
on.
Not hated on. You get absolutely mob-tied. You get pitchforked. People are throwing Molotov cocktails at your gaff.
You get told you're Moyes in, even though you're not.
But you could sit there and say, a kebab shop could shut down in London. If someone went, "That's all on David Moyes," it would get 200 likes on Twitter. It actually would.
That's all on Alfie now. If my local kebab shop closes, I'm hunting you down, Alfie.
That's
You know what, mate?
going to be the new meme. Like when it was like 8 years ago when Obama was president, and everyone was just like making memes like with hashtag "Thanks Obama" when something went wrong.
yeah.
And it's just it's gonna be "Thanks Moyes." This is Moyes' fault.
Yeah,
Be
when
honest,
Rice
Alfie,
told
yeah.
we do shit next season. Oh, thanks, Moyes.
Exactly.
Alfie, you see a lot of people on Twitter, yeah? And I'm going to use Twitter as an example. I see a bit of it on Facebook, but not as bad. Instagram, I don't really have, and YouTube, I cover anyway, yeah? So on Twitter, where you've got a lot of followers, like, I understand people backing Moyes, but then I don't understand the volume of vile nature that's coming out of people's mouths. I just don't get it, mate. I really don't.
I think it is really. I think people just don't sit and think what they're tweeting when people are saying I've seen people wish horrible, horrible things on Moyes, and I don't care how much you don't like the guy. I don't care how much you think he's done a bad job. I think that is ridiculous to wish. At the end of the day, he's a football manager who has done really well for the club in previous years and isn't now. That's the crux of the situation. That is what has gone on. Also, I've just heard that Kane has just gone on Claret and Booze, so I have to give that a watch after this.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Because you know what? I'm going to say this, yeah. All the lads who we used to do the spaces with, the NL used to do the spaces with Lucas, Mitch, and everyone, yeah. Even Clive, they used to come on there with us, right? Yeah. And I've spoke to a lot of people, and I've had rows with people about Moyes, big time, yeah. But I've never wished anything harm on him. Do I like Moyes? No, I dislike Moyes massively. Yeah, I don't like the way he conducts himself, everything. But you've got to respect some of the things that he has done, and you've also got to not put all the blame. It seems like it's 95% of the blame is on Moyes, and the other 5% is like filtered out into different aspects, which is it's just not right. It's just not right in my opinion.
I think.
Go on, man.
Ultimately, the difficulty we've had is obviously we've gone from a relegation fight a few seasons ago to an instant high of hitting into that European spots. Obviously, you'd love to see progress where it's straight from that depths of almost hitting relegation to mid-table, then Europe, and then sort of progression. I think that has distorted some of the fans' base opinions, or there's a lack of vision that's happened from that, which is probably why people are as frustrated that we're now seeing as we're back in this situation that we never thought we'd be back in. But I think realistically, would the fan base have reacted like this if we just hit mid-table, not had Europe for the last couple of seasons? Because ultimately, we've always had one of the smallest squads, especially in the Premier League. And I remember the first season that we had that European addition of fixtures, I was concerned because I was like, oh, we've got a small team, and ultimately he overachieved. I think, I was never happy when we took Moyes back a second time. I'll put that straight up. But, I do think he overachieved with the squads that we had. Ultimately, you would like to think with the additions we've had in the summer that we wouldn't have taken such a drastic backward step. And I think that is a problem. But
there's a lot of issues here, though, right? There is a lot of issues it ain't just on him. There's missed chances. This Declan Rice thing has been a major problem at West Ham for the last year.
He should never have been captain.
Right.
He should never have been captain.
He should never have been captain. And in a way, this has got out of hand with him. Right, it really has. I don't know what you think on that West Ham Online, but do you think the Declan Rice thing's going to be too far now? Because it's just every time we're going on social media, we're going on anything, it's all about Dec. It's not about West Ham as a whole.
I think there's two ways of looking at it, and there's two ways I do look at it. Do I think Rice is a good captain now? No, I think he's immature. I think the main reason he was made captain is because he's the best player at the club by a mile, and Mark Noble loves him.
But it doesn't matter if you're the best player. It's the
No.
team.
I'm just explaining why I think he was given the armband.
Right. Okay.
I think we've got to remember he was the captain on the pitch last season, so it was obvious that he was going to become the main captain this season. Do I think it was the right decision? No. I probably think Mark Noble had a hand in that decision, if I'm honest. I reckon they did come to him and say, who do you think should be next captain? And they went with Deck. But it was never a logical decision because we've known for a couple of years that Declan Rice does and deserves to move to a bigger club. But what I can't understand is people saying everything about the leadership in the dressing room is pinned onto Rice. Whether you've got an armband or not, you can be a captain without wearing the armband.
Exactly.
Rice hasn't been good enough, but other people need to step up too. I think the only person I've heard, from what I've heard in the dressing room, that steps up, other than Rice, is actually Tilo Kehrer, who I've heard has been a bit of a leader in that dressing room. And I put that out on social media the other day, and I was laughed at about that. And I'm not because I'm not saying Kehler's a good player. I'm just saying what I've heard is he's a good leader in the dressing room. And from the not fan cam, I always say that, the tunnel cam videos I've seen, I'd suggest that that's true.
Right.
So I think we can blame Rice. I think we can say he's not good enough as a captain, but he's a young kid. He's under an immense amount of pressure. He deserves criticism, yes, but other players should step up too. And at the end of the day, they're all grown men. They have to step up.
Well, yeah, there's always a vice captain, a third captain. There's always a leadership team of
when
players.
you break down the squad, we have almost 6 captains in all forms of football. Thomas Souček's a captain for Czech Republic. Tilo Kehrer, as just mentioned, has stepped up. Ogbonna, Cresswell, Rice is in there. You don't have to have the armband.
What does that say about Tilo Kehrer, though? Because Tilo Kehrer only came in the summer. There are players that have been there for quite a few years. Mickey Antonio being one. There are players that, in some sense, it's not just about being captain material. It's also when you're an older player, you are seen as someone that you're looked up to by the younger players, regardless of ones that are coming in or whether it's the academy. And I think there's aspects such as Mikel Antonio's freaking podcast where I don't think he's showing a good light.
Great comment, Clive. You just brought up another thing. Mikel Antonio's doing podcasts and having bets with fucking Callum Wilson. It's when I look at this as a whole, and you go through the whole of the season so far, all this is not on Moyes. There is players in this team who don't want to be here. Right? No one mentions about Ben Johnson. He doesn't want to sign a contract. Do you know what I'm saying? There's been missed opportunities, missed chances, stupid penalties missed. There's been a lot of issues at West Ham this season.
We don't have enough players that want to be here. We have a bunch of players that don't mind being here.
Yeah. And I understand what Joe says. Now, I like Joe, I respect Joe. He's been on the channel. I'm with you, mate. I 100% agree. Yeah. Joe says, from what I've heard behind the scenes, the players don't actually like Moyes themselves. He's a stubborn and arrogant prick. And the words I got told. I understand that, Joe, but they don't play for Mr. Moyes. They play for West Ham United football clubs. No, but it's true, though, Alfie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Moyes won't be remembered in 5 years' time. That's the thing that does me. In 5 years' time, Moyes will be long forgotten. But West Ham will live on for hundreds of years unless they go out of business. So I get what people are saying, but they've got to look at this and go, fucking some of these players need to shape up.
Do you know what else, James? I said this on Carrot and Booze as well. People are very quick to blame everything on Mr. Moyes, but I don't care if this group of players, which includes Declan Rice, Lucas Paqueta, Saïd Benrahma, Jared Bowen, all very good footballers in their own right. Yeah. I don't care if they're managed by Pep Guardiola, Scott Parker, David Moyes, Vincent Kompany. They should never, ever, ever be in the situation they're in. And I don't want to hear it.
I agree on that.
I don't want to hear people in the comments go, oh, it's because Moyes' style of football. The players got to be better as well. Moyes' style of football hasn't been good enough, no. But at the end of the day, he's not on the pitch.
I think that's so... And again, this is just me. I'm not speaking for anyone else. But I think that's so incredibly easy to distinguish. I really do. But people refuse to come off their agenda for Moyes, the players, whatever it may be.
It's the same way people claim we're too good to go down because of the caliber of players we have. We aren't too good to go down. That's why we're in this position. Like, if the players underperform, and in some aspects, there have been players that have severely underperformed this season, then of course you're going to be in this little shitty situation. That's where the players' accountability has to come
But
from.
you know what it is, though, right? To me, they go over the top, especially on Twitter, right? It's like we're 5 points adrift. Like, one win, we got to 12th, I think it is, or 13th. Or
yeah, 12th, yeah.
12.
Do you know what I'm saying? Right? And I look at it and I think, for fuck's sake, like if we was 5 points adrift, I would understand it openly. Yeah, I'd be sitting there, I go, right, I agree. We need to win 2 games and hope teams around us lose. If we do our jobs, right, and I keep saying it about this, and I'm passionate about it, and I will fucking row with any man, right? Any man, right? If we win our games, then 3 games in that week, or we get 7 points, we're staying up. Fact, right? It's 100%, right? And I will openly say that. Yeah, West Ham are not down and out yet. Right? What I don't like is some of these people who are high profile are very much easy to keep knocking West Ham down into the fucking ground, right? Just for an agenda over a manager that's an employee at the club. That's the thing that irritates me more than anything. And I think, like, forget your agenda for a minute. It's all about the team. Yeah. If the players perform, and they've got a duty of care also. I said it the other week when we played Brighton. I said they have got to realise that they play for the claret and blue at the end of the day, and not keep worrying about anyone else. You know what I mean? Go on, WestHamOnline.
No, yeah, I completely agree. People, honestly, it's all about Moyes. And the thing that really wound me up the other day, we played Aston Villa, and I think we deserve to win. This is an Aston Villa side that, since Unai Emery has come in, have played 14 games, won 8, and are 4th in the form table. Now, I'm not saying they're the best team in the league. I'm not saying they're going to win any trophies, nothing.
That's got to stop, Alpha. I've got to let him land this. Alpha, you're like the star man tonight, bruv. I'm going to have to up your wages, bruv. 100%. Evening all. Shout out to Alfie for fronting up Nick with logical points. Thank you very much, Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
Really do. I just want to say this before I carry on. I was proud of Alfie tonight. Fucking proud. I've never been prouder of a man on this channel. Right, I've got good lads on this channel, and we don't talk bollocks. Right, and I'll tell you something now. I was fucking proud of Alfie tonight because he articulated himself well. He didn't lose his rag, and he made some banging points, absolute banging points. Do you know what I mean? I've had many rows with Alfie, yeah. And listen, if Alfie was wrong, I'd say Alfie, you was wrong. But tonight, bruv, you get an A+. Carry on.
Cheers. Yeah, it was good, and I've got to. Before I go back onto what I was saying, I've got to, as much as I disagree with some of what Nick says on Twitter, I've got to admit he did hold his hands up during the conversation when I brought up some of the points made. So that's good. I think that's the good thing about YouTube, is you can articulate your points a lot better. When you're typing, people can sit there for 10 minutes thinking about what to say, or they can just ignore the conversation. But you can't do that on here.
Because on Twitter, you could put a sentence, and then the people will just take 3 words out of that sentence and they'll pitchfork.
Yeah. Go on, Alfie.
When it's like you didn't say that at all if you just read the sentence.
What was I even going to talk about before now?
You're saying about what I was saying about Moyes and basically all the points this season.
Yeah. So Villa, I'm not saying they're the best team in the league. I'm not saying anything like that, but they are 4th on the form table. They're a good side at the moment. We, in my opinion, deserve to win, or at least draw, in my opinion, win the game against Villa the other day. And people were booing, and I was like, I don't understand why people were booing firstly. But then I hear, the booing's all for the managers. All for the manager, sorry. So the players, once again, are taking no blame for missing all those chances. Mm-hmm. We had 17 shots. We scored 1 goal, and it was a penalty by Ben Rama. We had more shots than Villa. I know people don't like XG, but our XG was higher than Villa. We deserved at least a draw, if not a win. And people are booing and saying it's all about Moyes. Once again, I just don't get it.
I agree on that. I really do. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, when I do see some of the stuff that comes out, is like fucking unreal, mate.
It was an improvement in performance as well, which is what's frustrating. Like, I feel like that game against Villa, we weren't that bad. Like, we looked better than we had in some of the other games.
But it just seems like to me, though, I don't know about you lads, but it just seems like to me, you'd think West Ham were fucking bottom of the league, literally that bad that like there's no hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not happy where we are. Don't get me wrong, and I don't want to be there. But I've pinpointed the games where I know that West Ham needs to get points. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
I look
yeah,
at the next
100%.
right. I look at the next 5 games, for instance. I can read them off right now.
Southampton.
Southampton, Newcastle, Fulham, Arsenal, Bournemouth. Right. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, the Arsenal game's hard. Yeah, but if we can sort ourselves out and get the points in the bag before we get to the Arsenal game, the Arsenal game is a free hit. West Ham do seem to play well against Arsenal when they're up for it, right? And it would not surprise me if West Ham put in a performance against Arsenal, right, at home. Do you know what I mean? But I do think the crowd have got to be up for it and all. It just seems like to me the crowd are so easy just to turn and say, right, it's on them when they've got to be going to these fucking players. Some of these players, I'm going to be honest, get a pass massively, right? And they get pushed aside, and you focus on the man, you don't focus on the team. Like some of the performance I've seen this year of certain players, right? Souček being one of them, and people are crying out for Souček not to be in the team. And I know that's on Moyes, but when Souček's in the team, he's got to take a duty of care. He's in the team. He's playing for West Ham United Football Club. It just seems like it's on Moyes all the time. Do you know what I'm saying? Lucas, what do you want to add?
I mean, yeah, I thought everything you said was pretty good there. And then just like even players in general, like I know people say like Moyes is the one that picks the players, yada yada yada. Like if something's not working, he should change it up. But I mean, you can only change so much without like damaging the foundation that you currently have. Because like, of course you can make change, but that change could 1,000% be so shit. But you just want to change for change. Like, I don't know. Again, there's a lot of examples we could go through, but like, again, it's just everything you all have said has been bang on. It's just some people can't put their pride aside to just accept what has happened or what is like the realistic perspective that is happening. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's tough, and I mean, can't really help those people. So,
let me ask you a question. I've got a question for you. All right, like West Ham finished 12th this season and win the conference. After such a bad season, if we finish 12th, that's us safe, and we go and win a trophy. Is that acceptable a season for you, considering Absolutely. Where we are right now?
Yeah. I mean, we've not won a trophy in 43 years. Beggars can't be choosers.
Out of 10, if we're given a success rating out of 10 to finish 12th, win a trophy, I'd say that's about. It's got to be almost a 9, surely.
Oh yeah, look at it. Over the last 3 years, I've loved the last 2 years. But if we sit here this season, get mid-table, which is what 12th is, whether we've been good or bad, and win a trophy, you'd say any day I'll take the season where we win the trophy.
For me, West Ham have to win a trophy for it to be a successful season and stay in the league.
Yeah.
If West Ham finish 12th this season and we get knocked out in the semi-final, there is no excuses. Right?
Well, we have no Europe. We have no Europe the following season, and we've got players like Paqueta and the Skamaka, and well, you won't be keeping Declan Rice with that. That's for sure.
See, I've seen people saying about West Ham go down, go to different away games and all that. That mentality fucking drives me berserk. It absolutely drives me party, mate.
That annoys me because, I've said this a few times. Like, there's
as
no
much
guarantee
as I would love to go to Barnsley away, I really don't want to.
I'd rather not. I'd rather kill myself, mate.
Yeah, but that's when this is the argument that I keep having. Yeah, and I've had this on so many channels over the years. The fan base's mindset has got to change. Yeah, that is not acceptable. Right, relegation is not acceptable. It's like people go, "Oh yeah, what we do? We go down, we rebuild, and we come back the following season." Like, fuck, I want to be going down and going to places like Barnsley and fucking Rotherham on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
They think it's like just easy.
Yeah.
Like,
can I ask a question as well?
Go ahead.
Because I think this is the worst possible scenario, and this is going to sound, in a way, it will sound completely contradictory to what I've said, because I have said we need to win a trophy. It's one of the most important things. But if we go down and win the conference, we're in a right awful scenario, because we'll have to play
I
so
agree.
many games next season. Like we would
Yeah.
financially, we would get ruined.
First
The only-
off,
And not only just that, but like, you know, in the championship and onwards, they often do have midweek games. And when I say
Yeah.
midweek, like, you know,
we
you
would
have
be
that around November, December
absolutely
time.
screwed. We'd be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
We would.
But we'd also probably lose still most of those
Yeah.
players because they're not going to
No,
want to play
the
in the
only good
championship,
thing I
even
was
if we
going to
have
say,
Europe.
the only good thing I was going to say is, I do reckon we'd probably have the best championship squad of all time if that was to happen. But, but imagine we didn't come up. Oh my God, we would. I think that would be the end of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the fear I have, mate. If you want me to be honest, when people are accepting saying about relegation, I don't until West Ham are mathematically can't do this and they're gone, then I can understand the hate. I would understand it. But yet again, right, I sit here and I will say it openly from the heart. I don't blame Moyes for this. I really don't. I blame Sullivan for allowing this to carry on. And I will always stick with that. And that's not me with my agenda towards David Sullivan. Right, it's far from it. It's the fact of the matter is that David Sullivan is one of the reasons why he's allowed this to carry on. Right, do you know what I'm saying? If Moyes gets us out of trouble and he doesn't sack him or let him go at the end of the season, then that's a different argument. Do you know what I'm saying? Altogether. But for me, I think West Ham needs. I think we need to all be pushing in the same direction. I think we need to all be like positive moving forward. Come the 2nd of April, we need to be on the ball with this and say, right, Southampton is a must-win game. No, right, you're going to laugh, but no respect the point, right? We need to beat this team, right? Because the way I look at it is, I'd rather go for it and win and sit there and try and defend something when we could lose. Do you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's I look at it different to a lot of people. Do you know what I'm saying? And for me, I understand the people's dislike for Moyes, but then there is other issues at hand here all season.
Could we just highlight Jack's comment, please, for a second? I just want to respond to that one.
Go ahead, mate.
So basically, I think this is where partially a bit of an issue. Sorry to call you out a little bit, Jack, here, but this is where partially an issue comes because, in my opinion, if you're Skamaka, Paqueta, or Aged in this situation, you've got fresh new contracts because you've just been bought last summer. So I couldn't really give a shit if they want to fuck off. Like, you're tied to a contract, you're staying. Like, if we finish 12th and we only get to the semi-final of the Conference League, they can't be pushing for an exit because they've got, 3-4 years left on their contracts.
And do you know what would happen? Do you know what would happen if, just for argument's sake, West Ham got relegated and West Ham had to get rid of... Right, we would have these players on contracts, but what we would do is we would loan them to clubs for a year. That's what we would do. Certain players would loan.
Yeah, like what Burnley did with Wout Weghorst.
Yeah, right. They would loan these players out and go, right, we'll let them go, right, take them off the wage bill. You can go and have them for a season. And then if West Ham don't go up the following season, then basically there'll be a clause in there to say, right, you've got an option to buy. And that's what it'd be, 100%. So how do we go moving forward, lads?
Oh boy, that's a question. I think realistically, you know, at the end of the day, we don't know what West Ham are doing over these next 2 weeks. We hope that there's a change. You know, that stuff can be ironed out. Excuse the pun. That if there are any issues, that they can
I get the pun.
Be drawn up. That you know, a line can be drawn because I think ultimately, you know, no ego should be bigger than this situation because no player, no manager, no person is bigger than West Ham United. And ultimately, you know, I would like, you know, we don't play again till April. We've got April and May, and obviously maybe the first week of June, pending the Europa Conference here. So 2 months, 1 week, roughly 9 weeks of football. You know, I think it's important and imperative for everyone to get together. And I mean, players, coaches, staff, fucking everyone, fans, support, exactly, just everything. We have to, like, this is our last run, like, final third of the season. And I think, I think this is important. I think this is where we've got to bring some positivity as a fan base and, you know, show our support, and hopefully the players and the manager and everyone can get around whatever's going on at the moment, because this is now squeaky bum time at this point. We're in the final part of the season. This is what matters.
I agree. I literally agree. Like, I'm not going to get too carried away until that week of games. Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, I think it is for them. I agree, mate. I really do. I look at it from a different point of view, though. Right? These players have to play for the shirt. Right? If they don't like Moyes, yeah. Some of us don't like our own bosses, right? But we still got to go to work and the paper, innit?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what they've got to do. They've got to earn the crust, yeah, and they've got to earn the paper through playing for West Ham United. When they come out onto the pitch on the second, they have to be looking around at all the fans and think, right, this is who I'm playing for, right? Not because, as I keep saying, if Moyes will be a long distance memory in 5 years' time, but some of these players could be here for a long time. So they've got a duty of care to every fan. Like I said it the other week, and I will keep saying it because I'm very passionate about it. Do you know what I'm saying? That they've got to start playing for the claret and blue, not for David Moyes. Right? Do you know what I mean? Because David Moyes is not the issue. The players on the pitch have to do the job in hand. If they don't like the way Moyes is acting, that's granted. Have it out with him. But when they get on the pitch, they've got to fight for every ball. They've got to make sure they put their chances away. They've got to play for the fucking shirt. Do you know what I'm saying? And show a bit of commitment. So, that's my take on it. Online, what are you saying?
I think in the current situation, the only direction, like as fans, first of all, we've got to pull together a bit more. I think there's a divide. I think there's definitely a divide. And I think the divide comes from the opinions on the manager. I think, as we've already mentioned time and time again, people go over the top. People blame Moyes too much. Maybe I need to take a bit of accountability as well, because I'm a huge fan of Mr. Moyes. So I'd say that's on the opposite end of the spectrum to the opinions of the people who absolutely hate Moyes and, want him gone tomorrow and think he's the worst thing since sliced bread. But as fan base, we need to pull together. I need to stop seeing the excuses about the atmosphere of, the stadium. Yes, the stadium's crap. We're not going to change that. It's shown on numerous occasions that it can have a great atmosphere when the fans pull together.
Yeah.
Sevilla, even Chelsea at home in the Carabao Cup in 17 or 18. The atmosphere was incredible, and that was just a random Carabao Cup game, the game where Edmilson Fernandez scored. So we need to pull together as a fan base. We need to stop making excuses and blaming Moyes for absolutely everything. And at the end of the day, the players need to take a bit more accountability, because I think they're getting away with it a bit more. I think the vocal minority of the group that we've got in Moyes and Rice are taking a lot of the blame when certain people are hiding and getting away with it.
I agree. You couldn't put that any better. To sort of round this up, before we wrap this up, this next sort of 2 weeks, or next sort of 10 days, 2 weeks, wherever you want to put it, how do you perceive it, basically? Like, moving forward, like, what are you expecting sort of on the lead up to Southampton?
I'm expecting the fan base to pull together a bit more. I'm expecting us to stop overreacting to results and actually add context to things. Because I've seen people say, Crystal Palace are above us and they've sat their manager. Yes, Crystal Palace are 3 points above us. They've played 2 extra games. If we win one of the games, which is Newcastle and Fulham, we will go above Palace on goal difference. So you've got to add context. I'd expect us to get at least 4 points for the next 2 games, which would put us in a better position in Crystal Palace. And I have faith over the rest of the season we will come above Crystal Palace. So I think there's got to be context added into points like that. And I think as a fan base, we can criticise, but only if it's fair.
I think also Palace have made a dum-dum move, because
I agree on that.
They've had some hard fixtures and they've got some good fixtures coming up, and now they're managerless.
Oh, they looked shocking today, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I genuinely think that Vieira situation was an absolute error from their chairman.
Also, Clive, did you notice people were like, got to respect the Palace hierarchy for acting and sacking Vieira. But then when it came out later that they was looking at Roy Hodgson, the same people,
yeah.
they didn't tweet about that. No tweet about Roy.
I noticed. I had a good laugh over that, I must say. But this is what I mean. Like it's sometimes there are some short-sighted moments, and I think that is one, because not only does that show Palace have not thought it through, but they've panicked. They've literally panicked when they've not looked at the fixtures coming up, and I think they were clearly still playing for Vieira, and Zaha had been injured for about 4 or 5 fixtures anyways. Not to make this a Palace podcast, sorry, but they fucked up, and we can utilise that, basically, is what I'm trying to get at.
The only thing I will claim to really want to be right about is that Crystal Palace 5-1 punt for them to get relegated. That's
you know what?
That's not a bad punt anymore. That's not.
It ain't a bad punt. Ain't a bad punt. What I said at the start of the season. What did I say at the start of the season about Leicester?
Yeah,
Leicester in the Renault. I said Leicester finished bottom half.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you what ain't a bad punt. What I said about Arsenal.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know.
Oh.
But I'm so glad that my money's safe, mate. I know Leicester ain't finished top 10, so you know what I mean. One thing I will say is I agree with the Palace situation, like to a point. I don't understand why they've sacked him. I think they've shot their bolt a bit quick, and they thought, you know what, we're going to get rid of this geezer now and hope that someone else can keep us in the league. If I've got this right, it's only us and Leicester who haven't sacked our managers. Everyone else has.
Correct.
So, in one way,
Forest as well,
and Forest and all, yeah. In one way, it could work to our advantage because, like, there's no guarantee that a new manager is going to come in and hit the ground running straight away. Like, there's no guarantee that he could do it here. Do you know what I mean? So, like, what chances do they think they're going to do it somewhere else?
Look at Southampton and their multiple managerial changes, and look how that's worked out for them. At the end of the day, if we beat Southampton on April 2nd, there will be a relatively big gap between 20th and the safety net.
And to all those
that'll
people,
be the first time.
To everyone that really, really, really hates Moyes, sometimes the devil's your best friend because you know what you're expecting, and you don't like mystery. And
I never forget what Kane said though, mate. Like it just when Kane said it, it just was like a light bulb moment like that. When he said, at the end of the day, who are we going to go and get right now who can do a better job than who we've got right now, basically. But do you know what I mean? If you go and bring someone like, if you get rid of him and just say Mark Noble and Kevin Nolan, yeah, it might work for 1 game or 2 games. But that's no guarantee that it's going to keep us in the league.
And everyone wants like stability, and it's like consistency. You're not getting that with 10 matches left. Like,
yeah.
What?
I just feel that the moment's gone to sack Moyes now. Now we've got to back him. Like I just think you just got to back this geezer and hope he keeps us in the league.
Change the S to the B, sack to back.
And again with Moyes, like I said, sometimes you keep the devil closer. Like we know how Moyes is. If things do get worse, we know exactly what tactics he'll use. And I still would rather back that personally than bringing in Benitez or some random person that we have no idea how they would do with the squad or how they are as a manager.
It's like what I said, the last month, 2 months, whatever it has been. You're not gonna get someone like Sean Dyche at the time when he was unattached and or Benitez agreeing to just end of season. They're going to want 18 months minimum. They're not in positions where they are going to accept such a short contract. And at this point, I'd rather we just
which again,
through to
naive from David Sullivan in the board again.
Yes, it is very, very naive.
Right, lads. We've done an hour. Before I go, I do want to get your final sort of thoughts on things. Obviously, we've spoke about this in depth tonight, and it's been good. I must admit, it's been interesting in different opinions and all that. But the final question for me is like, what is like a successful season? I want you to give me a successful season that is the best scenario, and obviously one that doesn't involve relegation. I will go first. For me, if West Ham finish 12th and win a trophy, that's a fucking good season. right? In my opinion, from where we are right now on March, whatever date it is today, right, to finish 12th and go and win the conference, to me, that's a good season, right? And that's got us out of the shit. We've won a trophy that we haven't won in 43 years, etc. If West Ham finish 12th and don't win a trophy, to me, that's not a good season. If we fail to get to the final of the conference, yet again, it's not good enough, because we should be getting to a final with the amount of talent that we have. So for me, 12th, because I don't think we're going to get any higher than that. 12th, trophy, yes. No trophy, no. That's for me. Clive, what are you saying?
So for me, I would actually say a successful season would be 12th. And I would say the Europa Conference final is still a successful season. I think if we do not make the final, considering the run that we would have, would be bad. But, if we were to lose to Fiorentina or Nice in the final, I wouldn't say that's bad, because, it's his first European final in years, 43 years, and, they are good caliber squads. They're not bad. Nice have slightly underperformed this season in the Liga, and Fiorentina have been quite iffy in Serie A. So, I think everyone that that I would see as a threat in that the Europa Conference is perhaps slightly underperformed in the league. But what I would say is, if we were to lose to Nice or Fiorentina, it's the manner of the loss. But I think I would accept losing to either of them. I'd rather we obviously won. I think a really exceptional season is winning it, obviously, but I would still say it's a success getting to the Europa Conference final. Even if we were to lose it, I think, to go from a Europa League semi-final and then Europa Conference final, still a success. I know it means we won't get Europe the next season, but I think, it's still a dream to have that European final.
Yeah.
I think that's still quite a big night. It's a big atmosphere.
That's a big occasion.
Big for it's big for the fans. It's big for everyone. So, I think we have to. I know you don't want to respect the point, but I think we have to respect the final here.
Fair enough. Lucas, what are you saying?
Again, not a tough question, but it's an internal battle between what I think success is and what I'd be happy with. Like Clive said, I'd be happy with finishing 12th, or even, let's just say, surviving. I'd be happy with surviving and getting to Europa Conference League final. But a successful year would be staying up and winning the Conference League. I think that would be successful.
And Alfie?
A successful season for me is dittoing Lukey Pookie, staying up and winning the Conference League. Because at the start of the season, would I have said that finishing in the bottom half is a success? Absolutely not. So to resurrect that poor league finish, I think we have to try and win the Conference League for it to be a success. But what I will say is if we do reach the final, it'll be a great day no matter what, and you've got to respect the point.
And Joe was funny. Listen, I know that, yeah. It's fucking wind-ups. Joe was funny. I've seen it before, that people, like, i.e. Chelsea, I use Chelsea as an example here. Chelsea are in the Champions League. I think they're in the quarterfinals now. They've got Real Madrid. Chelsea have got no chance of winning another trophy this season. They're miles away from top four. If Chelsea go and win the Champions League, even though it's been a bad season in the Prem, it's still a good season to go and win the Champions League, and that's how it should be with West Ham.
Great season for them.
Well, not under Abramovich, because I mean we saw what happened with Di Matteo.
I understand that.
I understand your point.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, depending on the chairman's outlook, is what I'd say on this one.
Because
I still think that's a success.
Because what would people's like? For me, I said at the start of the season, West Ham to finish in the top 10 and win the conference. That's what I said. West Ham ain't going to finish sixth in the league again, right? Do you know what I'm saying? When you do look at the team, there's still issues that we have in the team. i.e. left back and right back situation. I said top 10 and the Conference League. If we finish 12th and get the Conference League, I really couldn't care less where we finish in the league, as long as we stay in the league. Like, that's my opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? So
where does everyone realistically think we're going to finish? Should we have a little we're going to finish and say 14th? Or do we all think 12th?
I predicted. I think we done a small prediction, like at the World Cup or something like that. I predicted we'd finish 14th, is what I said.
I actually think I think we'll finish between 12th and 14th in that bracket. I think this is what I personally think. As a betting man, I always go with my sort of gut instincts. For me, I think West Ham will kick themselves up the arse and get out of this situation. I looked at us the other day against Villa, and we were good. We were good against Villa, right? And I look at the talent that we've got coming off the bench. I looked at us against Larnaca. I know they was awful, but I'm looking at the players that we've got. And I'm thinking, right, he's coming back to fitness. Cornet's going to be there. We've got options now, right? There is no excuses now. All the players are fit. We're going to have our first choice centre halves together in Zuma and Aguerd. If we can sort out the left back and right back situation, or the right back situation more so, then I'm confident. I'm confident we'll get out of this mess. I think that week that is coming up, and I keep banging on about it, but I fucking will do because I can't keep having this negative bollocks. That week's massive. If West Ham win these games and get that springboards us into the following game, which is Arsenal, and then we play Europe in between that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And I'm confident in that, mate. I really am. I don't fear. I'm nervous at West Ham at the minute, but I'm not shit scared worried that we ain't going to win another game. I think West Ham will win another game.
And another thing that's brilliant as well is if we do win the Conference League, Tay's intro will be featured on E20 Zone TV.
Yeah, I know, mate.
That is true. And just to respond to Tyler, it would affect the season. So whoever finishes in 6th place will get the Europa Conference, and we would get the Europa League. That was put in place when Chelsea lost.
That would be brilliant.
Funny enough, I was talking
Chelsea won the Europa League.
I was talking to one of my United friends about that, and I was basically saying how much I would love for this scenario to happen because it would really affect a club that I have a lot of hatred for. It would really put me in a great mood.
Oh, mate, if West Ham stay up, if West Ham stay up, win the Conference League, stop Spurs from going into the Europa League, mate. Oh, mate, that is just
hilarious.
If Carlsberg does fucking dilemmas, that's a perfect one.
Imagine Chelsea finished 6th. And we took it away from Chelsea, and
it could be the same with United as well. If we took it away from United, oh my god!
There's so many scenarios that are just they're just. I don't want to demonetize you, but they're.
It's already done, mate. It's already done.
Oh, sorry.
It's already done. Online, what you saying, man?
At what point in the game against Southampton? Is there a point that any of you would respect the point?
No.
No.
If we're losing the game and we put it back, right, then you got to take it. You got to take it. If we're winning, if we're level on the 75th minute, I want to see West Ham go for this. West Ham need to be brave. That's one thing I will say. They have to be brave in games, right? If it means you're going to lose the odd game, then so be it. Right? West Ham need to win games rather than draw games because I think at the minute some of these draws are sort of papering over what's really going on. West Ham need to attack these games from the front. Do you know what I mean? If West Ham can nick a couple of wins from somewhere, then by all means, I'll be happy. I'm not nervous yet. I looked at Forest on Friday night. They're fucking awful, mate. Like, and I looked at them. I look at Bournemouth. Like, look at Villa the other day. They stuck 3 past Bournemouth, right? And you look at us the following week. We was banging on that door, Villa's door, and if one of the lads would have took the chances.
There's certain teams that are playing the occasion. So, like, Bournemouth have played well in the occasion against Chelsea. They've played well in the occasion against Liverpool. And, they've come away with 3 points out of the 6 there. But, that's what would have been unexpected.
The only thing that helps is that we're one of 8 horrendous clubs at the moment. So
Yeah.
The odds are bouncing around everywhere, and just hopefully they fall in our favor.
Yeah, I think the next 3 fixtures could potentially define our season, to be honest.
I agree, 100%. I really do. Like, it is what it is, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. We've lost a subscriber, lads, but obviously you can't please everyone. Do you know what I mean? But all the people who have been watching, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Goes a long way. Get me that subscriber up instead of down. My final thought is this before I wrap this up, is basically fucking let's get behind the boys. Back the boys, get behind them. Because we're not dead and buried yet. People think we're fucking dead and buried. We're West Ham United. If we're going to go down, we're going to go down fighting. You know what I mean? I'm getting pissed off when people keep looking at us like we're already down. Do you know what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to respect it and just fucking back the lads. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Because I know something. If I was over there, I would be fucking screaming at them like for 95 fucking minutes of every game. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they need us as much as we need them. So, you know, it is what it is. I've got to get this comment from Epic. James, who's the most delusional West Ham fan on the internet and why is it Alfie?
I'm shaking my head, Epic. I am shaking my
Epic, he actually done all right tonight, mate. I'm not even going to lie to you, mate. Redders loves me. Thank you, mate. Just don't tell my missus. Do you know what I mean? She get jealous. Big up the lads.
Wait. Epic, your answer is actually... I'm going to say it's Jason Smarthammer. I'm going to chuck it out there and
You're not going to say it's Jack Alderton?
No, I'm not going to call out Jack. I can't do that to Jack.
Nah, Jack's all right. He's just got his own opinions. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's what it is. Lads, it's been a pleasure. I really do appreciate all you coming on this channel. Tomorrow, check it out, yeah, because Tom's doing his first video. Right, he's organising it now, and he's going to be hooking that up for tomorrow at some point. So check it out here on E20 Zone TV. Obviously, when there's no content for West Ham, we'll probably do another after-hours show during the week, and I'll get Mitchell on and a few others. If you do want to come on and you do talk some sense, or you want to have a debate with Alfie or me or anything, by all means, drop my Twitter, drop an inbox in my Twitter, a message, and you're more welcome to come on, as long as you don't act like a fucking idiot. So, yeah, by all means, drop me a message. Lads, it's been good. It's been emotional, isn't it, tonight? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go and do a space now. So, yeah. See, I'm fucking passionate for this club, man. I love this club to death. Fucking people need to act like me, mate, sometimes. Anyway, from me to you, I'll see you again in the next one. Peace.
There it is. I've never found a love like this.